what's up, everybody? Welcome in. This is FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Matt Striker. His name's Joe Pisapia, and this is the place if you want to dominate, whether it be season-long fantasy, DFS, straight-up wagering. We got you covered. Joe Pisapia is the author of the Fantasy Black Book. Go check it out. Do it during a commercial break, please. And during that as well, check at SportsGrid and at SportsGrid TV. Those are our social media handles. Just make sure you're following along. A lot of information coming your way. Joe, everyone's going to ask you about a start-sit question, so we'll get into that. But first, welcome in here to the second hour of FST. How you looking? How you feeling?
Feeling good. Putting some lineups together already, DFS stuff at the break, continuing to monitor things. Some news, too. Keenan Allen is a game-time decision, so we'll see how that goes. So, as I mentioned, you get 10, 11, 12 years into the league, and a team lets go of you. It's time to recognize that. And look, I don't know what Caleb Williams is going to look like on the road today, even if Keenan Allen does play. So maybe you can unload Keenan Allen for something. Again, take a look at some of those players in Ohio State University guys, right? The alumni. Can you get JSN for Keenan Allen? I bet you can. Who would you rather have rest of season? Probably like to take my chances with JSN. That's the kind of move right now that you could make, and you could probably end up really reaping the rewards for potentially as the season turns into October.
All right, with that said, let's jump into a start-sit right here ahead of Week 2 in the National Football League. DeAndre Swift is at Houston for the Chicago Bears offensive ecosystem. We can talk about a maturing Caleb Williams and how he may rely on a running game a bit more. Or Devin Singletary at Washington. What kind of Giant team shows up this Sunday?
A tricky one here. I think the Giants actually might show up a little bit more than people realize against the Commanders, the in-division game. Those out-of-conference games are always weird, especially right out of the gate, right? So you had the Minnesota Vikings come in, a little unfamiliar. You had a quarterback in Sam Darnold you hadn't seen a lot too. And look, they struggled. Daniel Jones struggled a lot. I was at a local brewery on Wednesday with a friend of mine, and the talk around that bar area between the bartender and a few of the other people sitting around there was about Daniel Jones and all of their, let's just say, discontent around him, which was pretty entertaining for me to just kind of sit as the fly on the wall and just listen to. However, I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift here because Khalil Herbert didn't seem to be the guy. I have concerns about Caleb Williams again. I think the best thing to do is to keep the offense a little simple here. Try not to do too much, hand the ball off to DeAndre Swift, dump the ball off to DeAndre Swift, so you can get some yards after the catch, and then get yourself in some good spots. Get yourself into 3rd and 2s, right? And 3rd and 3s instead of getting into 3rd and 8s. I think that's going to be the special sauce if they're going to have any success on the road in Houston today. And the way you do that is by utilizing DeAndre Swift as much as you possibly can. So, again, tough assignment. On paper, maybe Singletary pops for some people. For me, again, I think he's just a guy. And my other concern is, as Daniel Jones continues to be a turnover machine, you can't score fantasy points if your quarterback continues to give the ball to the other team. That stops everything. It stops your time of possession. It stops your possessions, period. So keep that in mind here. That's another deficit I think Singletary's working with.
All right. Before we move to a wide receiver, just yes or no, is safe to play a Daniel Jones interception prop every single week?
Every single week, baby. We made money on it last week. We're going to do it again this week. No spoilers. But look, last week it was Daniel Jones interception, and I paired it with the Vikings to win. It was a good, simple duo bet. That's how you build narrative in wagering too, I think. Like if you think a guy's a turnover-prone guy and you think that they're outclassed in terms of weapons, well, look at today, for instance, right? Take the Jets to win and Will Levis to throw an interception, right? Because is Will Levis going to do something stupid in this game? Probably. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. So take the things where you're building the narrative and constructing it in the same way where it's logical to make sense. And it's not always going to it's not always going to hit, but more often than not, when you keep it simple like that and don't add a third thing for variance, right? You're just keeping it simple with the two things that I know. Will Levis makes bad decisions. The Jets defense is going to rebound after a nasty week of getting their ass kicked. Those are good things you can probably put together. That's simple. Don't add more variance, tunnel vision, keep a simple narrative. There you go. I approve.
All right. So with that said, It brings us to the wide receiver conversation. Will Calvin Ridley be a steadying presence for an erratic Will Levis against the Jets? Or Jaden Reed, quarterback questions there as well against Indianapolis?
This is misery. I'm miserable with this one, Matt Striker. You made me miserable.
Okay. You want me to take it from you? Let me take your misery.
No.
Okay.
Look, Malik Willis is going to be miserable too. But I think that Jaden Reed will work enough in the Jet sweep game and work enough and touch the football where I think I'm going to take the touches of Jaden Reed over the quarterback play of Will Levis. So it's a slight lean towards Jaden Reed. But if there's a C option, I'd love to hear it. Matt, where would you go out of curiosity between these two guys?
Hey, look at that, back in my lap. Yeah, no, I'm with you here. I think that Ridley would be a steadying presence for Levis. And Jaden Reed has that explosivity, but then again, you have the quarterback question. But I think I can probably garner more points with Reed, even though the Colts are coming on, man. They are going to be a wagering favorite. But I'd lean Reed. All right, there's my answer. Let's move on here. Let's talk tight ends. We're going to go Colby Parkinson. The Rams offensive line banged up, so the tight end position may have some more blocking duties. But at Arizona, we know how Arizona caters to the tight end position. Or Pat Freiermuth, a tight end actually that you mentioned before the season as a sneaky little pick, and he's at Denver.
Yeah, look, I think that the Steelers are going to be better this week than they were last week. I don't think the Denver Broncos are a good football team. I just don't. Really, I don't know where they're digging this hole, but it's going to get deeper and deeper. And that defense, again, you want to look at Bo Nix turnovers today and the Steelers to win, right? Simple things you can do. And you know, it might not be the sexiest thing on the board. It might be the biggest plus money thing in the world, but you put those two things together, I think you're going to have a good day at the office. Parkinson had a good day, kind of was called upon last minute. We're trying to figure out, like, is it Demarcus Robinson being a guy we can count on? Maybe. But Parkinson, I think, gave you 4 catches for 47 on 5 targets. And I think that you could see a jump this week with Puka not being at practice all week, obviously going on the IR, that you're going to find more ways to get him involved. And I think that's a good thing. So I would lean towards Parkinson because of the volume. I think Freiermuth is still a little bit more touchdown dependent. Now, the answer is whoever scores the touchdown is going to win this matchup, but I'm going to favor Parkinson. I'm going to favor him for having a slightly higher potential to do the touchdown as well because of the total in that game. So it's Parkinson by a whisker for me over Freiermuth.
Yep, I like it. I like the logic as well. And in my mind, I'm making a note to try to take a Knicks turnover, parlay it with a Daniel Jones turnover, and see what that gets me. I'll do that during the break, and I'll let you know. Let's talk quarterbacks. Brock Purdy has Minnesota. Matthew Stafford has Arizona.
Yeah, another one that's really close here. I think Purdy's the safer play. He's got all the weapons. And look, I think Minnesota has proved that, hey, we can put some points on the board. So I'd probably lean towards Purdy here, especially with some of the offensive line issues that the Rams are having. It's not that he can't be good. I think both these guys are startable, especially in Superflex, obviously. If you had Jordan Love, right, and you're looking for a replacement on the waiver wire and Matthew Stafford's out there, he's absolutely a good plug and play this week against Arizona. But if I've got both these guys on my team and it's a single quarterback situation, I will lean towards Purdy. They're going to hand the ball off a ton, to Jordan Mason too. I think you're going to see a lot of that. Keep Justin Jefferson off the field as much as you can. It's a road game. And look, Purdy struggled last time they played Minnesota. Don't forget that too. That was a big L for them. And who was out for that game? Oh yeah, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was out.
Got it. All right. Let's see if Jacksonville can stretch Cleveland's defense. If they do, it puts Deshaun Watson in play or Sam Darnold against the aforementioned 49ers. Character assassination aside, Joe, who do you think is going to play better today?
How about character assassination right at the top? Apparently, they can end his contract if this latest accusation is true. I'm wondering if they're going to be bringing that up somewhere around the middle of the third quarter in this game. I don't think Deshaun Watson is long for this job. I think Winston might get a look today, as soon as today. And give me Sam Darnold. Darnold looked pretty good out of the gate. I can't believe it. This is where we are. Sam Darnold is my starter. Injuries will be returned on FST. What in the world?
it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Everyone had him Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. Eberflus Coach of the Year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be successful, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off the platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
147 yards against the Jets and a touchdown? I mean, the numbers are incredible.
It's the Shanahan connection, and that's just what it feels like. And, Jordan Mason came into that game with a career 5.6 yards per carry. He's always been a very tough runner. He's always been good when called upon in small doses. You mentioned the yardage, which was impressive, but 28 carries. That's what I'm looking at.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today, where the entire staff and team of the show may or may not all be placing wagers during the break on all of the information that is being given here. And you should be doing the same, perhaps, ? This is how my relationship goes with my wife. This is how everything goes. Everything is just a question mark, Joe. Thankfully, you are not my wife. You're my Sunday wife. Let's talk injuries because love hurts. Love hurts indeed. Right off the bat, we know that Malik Neighbors had a knee issue, but you can report from right there in beautiful New Jersey that Malik Neighbors will play today for the New York Football Giants. Is that correct?
That is correct. Is what it seems like. Is he 100% no? Does he have Daniel Jones playing quarterback? Yes. Are you saying, Joe, to start Malik Neighbors? Yeah, you have to. You have no choice. You got to start it and hope that it gets better against the Washington Commanders. So he's in the lineup regardless of what's going on here. Another injury, too, that just came across here that I think is worthy of discussion here is Hufanga, the safety of the 49ers, is doubtful for today now. Now, people say, well, why does that matter? Well, it matters when you're facing Justin Jefferson and you have a backup safety who's playing. So pay attention very closely to that one. Maybe start looking for some Justin Jefferson props for the over. This is a guy that was crushing life in the first half of that game. And then, the Minnesota Vikings basically just sat on the lead in the second half and didn't push the ball forward because they didn't have to. So that might be a little different when the 49ers offense comes to town. Might be a little bit more back and forth. So I'd be looking at some of those numbers here for Justin Jefferson. I could try to pull some of those up. But Matt, that's one to me that kind of pops right away, doesn't it, for you? Like when you see a safety out, especially one who's very good like that, all of a sudden, you might have to, how does that affect our fantasy? Of course, we're starting Justin Jefferson anyway. It doesn't affect us in fantasy football. It does make me like him a little bit more in DFS, and it also makes me curious as to, let's look at the props. And the receiving props right here for Justin Jefferson today, 80.5, big number, but I'd go on the over on this one.
What's his anytime touchdown? What's his anytime touchdown number? See, that to me is the easiest way to ascertain if the book has caught up to the news.
It's minus money, but we'll get to that. Justin, actually, no, I'm wrong. It's plus money, plus 125. Anytime touchdown.
Press that button now. I'll wait.
Press that. First time touchdown scorer, plus 900, and last touchdown scorer, 700. So all plus money there away. So again, here we go. Building narratives. Here we go, right on the show live, talking fantasy. How does it equate to wagering? This is a great opportunity here, right? So let's take the over on Justin Jefferson, the 80.5. Anytime touchdown scorer, that gets you 2-1. You put those two things together. That's also a pretty nice day there.
Now here's the careful, and I like that you gave us the first touchdown scorer and the last touchdown scorer because of the perceived mismatch here. I would strike the last touchdown scorer because you should expect a professional team to be making adjustments at that point. And if the game's completely out of hand, then I guess it's just what you call a garbage time touchdown. But the anytime touchdown would be the first thing that jumps to my mind. Anytime I hear anything about secondary issues, I immediately look at the wide receiver in question. Now, let's talk about what happens when a running back is trending towards being out. What does that do to a narrative if you already liked the underdog the other way?
Well, we talked earlier that Ken Walker was doubtful with the oblique issue, and this has kind of been the problem with Ken Walker, which is why I've been fading him in all my drafts this year, which is I love the player, I love the talent, but he just never seems like he's healthy ever. And I know it's the NFL, no one's ever healthy, no one's ever 100%, but it's week 2. It's week 2, and he's got the oblique already. So Zach Charbonnet is a guy that should be added in all your leagues. Try to look at his roster percentage. I imagine it's over 70 by now. We'll check on that for you guys. But if Charbonnet's still floating out there on the waiver wire, he's a flex start today against the New England Patriots. Absolutely, because he's going to get most of the workload. With Walker, you just have to bench him and just hope for the best here as you go through. But it's frustrating because we are here yet again. It's only week 2. And you put, what, a 4th round pick on Ken Walker, probably somewhere around there maybe? And he's already out. And that's frustrating. You want these guys, we know injuries happen. It's football. It's a rough game. But man, oh man, it's like every year it's the same thing with this guy, which is why Charbonnet was one of the better backups. And if you waited on running back and took shots on guys like him, took shots on guys like Jordan Mason, like you're loving life right now because you got all the wide receivers, all the quarterbacks, all the tight ends. And now all of a sudden you've got RB1s in your room. It's crazy. He is listed as an RB2 this week. So he is a guy that, again, you can absolutely start as far as his roster percentage right now to just see how much he might be available. He is, again, I nailed it, 70% rostered exactly on the button on Sleeper right now.
All right.
Which means in a third of leagues, the guy's still out there. In shallow leagues, if he's out there, add him to your roster in that last spot, just in case he has a great game and just in case this Ken Walker injury lingers a little bit longer than we think.
All right, a high-profile game that will be taking in a lot of eyes and a lot of handle is this Chiefs-Bengals game. Those in the know say that if anyone out there can beat the Chiefs, it's the Bengals. But is it this iteration of the Bengals, considering Joe Burrow's wrist issues?
Yeah, look, starting Joe Burrow today, I'm not worried about the wrist. He's not worried about it, so I'm not going to be worried about it either. I expect Jamar Chase to put the contract stuff in the past, and I expect these guys to show up. They know how important this game is. If you win this game, not only do you get back on track, but look, if you go down and let the Chiefs beat the Ravens and the Bengals first 2 games out of the gate, guess what? You're looking at the Chiefs already the big favorite for that number 1 seed and the big favorite for the bye and the big favorite for 2 home games to get to the Super Bowl.
It changes the landscape of wagering the entire way. Yep.
And everyone's like, oh, why is Joe on the boring Chiefs? Well, because the boring Chiefs, the chalky Chiefs, are a really good investment. Also for the Chiefs, too, Hollywood Brown's going to be out for the regular season. So if you had designs on him helping you, that's not going to work out. So he is officially on IR. You can drop him in all leagues, especially if you have limited IR spots. I don't think it's worth holding. Maybe he comes back at some point late in December. I don't know. I wouldn't feel good about starting him, so you can move on from there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Worthy and Rice move up as well. And also Puka Nacua is going to miss more than 4 games. So I think that also gives a bump to a lot of these secondary receivers. This creates a void. We have to be able to jump in there, Joe.
Yeah, anywhere from 4 to 7 weeks, too. I mean, this is kind of a big range of outcomes, which I don't love. So I hope Puka Nacua isn't one of these one-year wonder guys. I really do. I think that was my big problem going into this year was I don't know if I could buy into a guy off the waiver wire who – became a top 3 wide receiver. Typically that stuff doesn't happen for a reason. And this was a player that had injury issues in college too. And that's the one thing. I do a lot of college stuff with Scott Bogman, who's great in college football circles. That was his big warning too. It's like, look, it was not the most durable guy in college either. And already we're seeing that at the NFL level in year 2. When we come back, we continue to press on FST.
it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking, but he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Everyone had him rookie of the year, offensive player of the year. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. Eberflus coach of the year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be a success, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off the platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
147 yards against the Jets and a touchdown? I mean, the numbers are incredible.
It's the Shanahan connection, and that's just what it feels like. And, Jordan Mason came into that game with a career 5.6 yards per carry. He's always been a very tough runner. He's always been good when called upon in small doses. You mentioned the yardage, which was impressive, but 28 carries. That's what I'm looking at.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, here we go. Welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Striker and Joe Pisapia breaking down everything you need in order to profit from upcoming Week 2, the National Football League. Season-long fantasy, DFS, straight-up wagering, whatever it is. Let's take a dive into the futures here because it changed drastically in one night. Let's look at the AFC East winner. These numbers are absolutely just, when you think about it from a wagering perspective, imagine for a moment you're someone that was holding a Dolphins ticket, whatever it was for. And now think about that person. Joe, take it from there, AFC East.
Well, that person was me, Matt. So way to rub some lemon juice in that cup.
I didn't even know.
Way to go, you jerk. Look, I thought that the Dolphins could potentially just outscore everybody. Their defense isn't good. But I thought, with the weapons they have, if Tua stayed healthy, that they could do that. Now, the Tua situation, unfortunately, is one that really has crushed those hopes and dreams. And hopefully he is just okay, first and foremost. Everything else is secondary. Right. But the Buffalo Bills, who I think are a team in transition, are now it feels like a dogfight with the Jets. So the Jets need to rebound today, show you they can get a W on the road. They, 2 road games to start. If they struggle with the Titans, if they lose to the Titans, I can't imagine what Monday morning in the New York media market's going to be. I kind of want to be here for it. Just, I don't know, just a little bit, a little bit. But New England Patriots could be a 2-0 team, which is hilarious. Imagine a world where the Patriots are 2-0, the Bills are 2-0, and the Jets are 0-2. That's not impossible when we look up Monday morning of these things.
I lived it for the last 2 decades. What do you mean? It's easy to imagine. But here's the thing, at the end of the day.
I do think that the Bills are going to be minus money soon. That's the thing. Like, the Bills look like a team that, I still don't know if they can compete with the big boys in this conference. That's the thing. Like, I don't think they can compete with the Ravens. I don't think it's one thing to beat up on the Cardinals. It's another thing to beat up on the Dolphins, especially when Tua goes out of that game. It's another thing to beat the Ravens. It's another thing to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like, those are the elite teams you got to beat. And so far they've shown they struggle there.
So now here's the thing what this opens up for me, at least for Jet wagerers. You see them at plus 170. You've seen them at 2-1 and plus 2-1 in certain places. Here's the thing. Think about it now for the Jets to make the playoffs as well. Think about what this opens up for the other team. If that other team in the AFC is Pittsburgh, by all means, go right ahead. But Jacksonville, but now you should look at those numbers for those teams to make the playoffs. You should also start to look for win totals as well, because it really changes a lot. Let's move to the
juice is heavy on that, Matt, by the way. Minus 192 for the Jets to make the playoffs. So if you want to invest in chaos, it's plus 154 if you think the Jets are going down another road. You're going to get your answer today, I think, one way. The Steelers, now that you mentioned it, are plus 220 to make the playoffs. You're getting a far better number on the Steelers.
There's the hole. So Miami creates the hole. There's the money right there. We just did it in real time. That's where I would place that weight. Okay. Fair enough. You ready to move on to the Rookie of the Year after 1 week of football? Are you ready?
Look, I was ready to. I'm just saying my bet's in the same spot, except the odds have changed. So go ahead, walk us through.
Yes. All right, so here it is. It's Jaden Daniels, opened at plus 650, now plus 430. How long before this is no longer profitable?
Not yet. He's still got some things to work through. Now, he did have 88 yards rushing, threw for 184. He didn't throw for a passing touchdown, but he did score 2 touchdowns on his own. So certainly, I think if you're comparing his day to Caleb. Right, well, Caleb Williams did not impress, and I'm hard-pressed to think he's going to impress on the road against Houston tonight. It's a big game, big attention. Caleb Williams loves that stuff, but I don't know, Matt. I'm here where I was, which was I put in at 650 on this, and now it's plus 430. And if Daniels has a good game against the Giants and Marvin Harrison's quiet again and Caleb Williams doesn't look good, you could see this opening up Monday morning. I'm going to say plus 210. That's where I would set it necessarily, right? Like you're kind of in that conversation. So this is your chance here to invest on Jaden Daniels for Rookie of the Year if you think that he is, from what you've seen at least in the first week. And look, it's a lot to overreact to. I get it. But this isn't so much an overreaction as a reinforcement, right? Because we were talking about this at 650. We were talking about Caleb Williams maybe having some struggles. We were talking about Marvin Harrison. They tend not to give this award to, non-quarterbacks. And then there's Jaden Daniels at a really nice number. Well, that number has gotten a little less already.
Yeah, 2 good performances will slash 2/3 of the value out of here. Let's go to the NFC South here. The Atlanta Falcons sit at plus 155. The Saints right behind them, plus 200. And then there are the Bucs, Joe.
Yeah, I love the Bucs at plus 210. There's a team that won the division last year. Baker looked great. They go in there and win today. This number's going to change again. Or FST right after this.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Everyone had him Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. Eberflus Coach of the Year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be a success, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off the platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
147 yards against the Jets and a touchdown? I mean, the numbers are incredible.
It's the Shanahan connection, and that's just what it feels like. And, Jordan Mason came into that game with a career 5.6 yards per carry. He's always been a very tough runner. He's always been good when called upon in small doses. You mentioned the yardage, which was impressive, but 28 carries. That's what I'm looking at.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. During the break, one of our producers, I won't name him in case someone's listening out there might incriminate him, was mentioning how he went to a wedding, had a great time, and then Joe said, Matt and I will fight you and all your friends. And I'm sitting over here, what did I do to get dragged into this?
What?
And then I realized it's about the fantasy over-under. That's what it's all about. Sometimes people can get really angry when they miss a lock. So let's try not to be fighting any wedding groups at all, Joe. Stop getting me into fights with people.
I hate
There's
weddings.
Just two of us.
Is that bad of me? I hate weddings. It's the worst.
Yeah,
it's like if you've been to one, you've been to them all. They're the worst. I don't know. Do I hate love?
Even love, you don't cry. Yeah, I think so.
No, I do. I hate weddings. I just think it's the same thing, and they write the check. Between the ages of like 27 and 35, I went to so many weddings, and I just I'm so grateful that I haven't had to go to a wedding in a long time. I think I have to go to one next year, so I'm not looking forward to it. But it's a Harry Potter themed wedding, so it's the only thing that's getting me by. That I'm totally
oh my God! I was just gonna say you come for the props, you stay for the cynicism, and he throws in the Harry Potter.
I'm gonna wear my dress robes to that one. That's what's gonna happen.
There's two things you can't do in this world. One, you can't disparage people that enjoy Taylor Swift's music, and you cannot disparage Harry Potter. You cannot disparage grown humans believing in magic or superheroes. The infantilization of society is, I don't even want to get off on a rant. Okay, let's just go to the over-under here so I can keep my composure. Please stop it. Brian Thomas Jr. is a part of an exciting offense in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has a big arm and can air it out. Let's talk Brian Thomas Jr. receptions, over under 3.5. Let's also talk receiving yards, over under 38.5. Let's have this conversation about BTJ.
Yes. Let's raise them up with a spell, shall we? And go on the over with Wingardium Leviosa on him.
Use your muggle words with me.
I'm gonna change the whole thing now that I know that this bothers you every week. It's gonna be 3.5 receptions. It's a low number. I think it's achievable this week. The 38.5, again, a low number. I like the low numbers here. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a flex play this week. I'm not ready to quite, push too far here. In those 10-team leagues where you only start 2 wide receivers, I think it's more on the bubble, depending on what your roster looks like. But I will say this, in DFS circles too, he has some touchdown equity. I think he could surprise you on DK. He's got a cheap salary on there. So I'm on the over here. I keep going back to the same thing, which is Christian Kirk is fine. But Christian Kirk in no way projects as an alpha wide receiver. Brian Thomas could, and they spent the draft capital on him. So when all of us are looking at, the Malik Neighbors of the world and the other guys, like at the end of the day, you need the quarterback play to help you. And I think Trevor Lawrence can help him. So I'm going to go the over on 2 very small numbers here with him. He is flex worthy this week. The expert consensus rankings agree with me on Fantasy Pros too when you look at them. So I think it's a good situation here for him to build on a solid week 1 performance and then continue to push forward into week 2 and beyond. So wheels up for my boy Brian Thomas.
All right, let's go to a bit more of an obvious name and an obvious situation with Puka Nacua down and out. Cooper Kupp steps back into the spotlight on his own. 84.5 receiving yards. Does he have a big day today?
I think he does. Look, the defense is not great with Arizona. Like that's that one problem with them, which is why I think he can't, go too far. Now, is he going to go at 21 targets again? I think that's a little much. But he had 14 catches for 110, and that was against the Detroit Lions, which is, I think, a much better defense than the Arizona Cardinals. So the number's already pretty high, but I think he's going to go over this. There's another guy like in DFS today. If he gives you what he gave you last week, he finished as wide receiver 2 with that 110 and a touchdown, because a lot of the wide receivers we liked last week were kind of quiet. He also had 2 rushing attempts too. So we're right back to it's Cooper Kupp's world. Now, how long does that last with his health? That's a story for another time. But in week 2, I think we can feel pretty good about investing in him. So I'd go over on his 84.5. Some markets you can get this a little less, but I think that 84.5, despite being a big number, I think it goes over 100 again today based on just sheer need, where you have to get Cooper Kupp the football a million times,
Right.
Kyron Williams the ball a million times, and you see a little Colby Parkinson and Demarcus Robinson work in there as well. So to me, that's what the Rams have to do to win this football game. And Sean McVay's always showed you he's not afraid. He is not afraid to say, yeah, here's Cooper Kupp. Go figure it out. Go beat him. We've seen this before. So as long as Cooper Kupp's body's up for it, I think my wallet's up for it. So give me the over on this one too. A lot of overs today.
Well said. Let's see if they all play out here. It's all part of a trend. All right, considering the matchup as well as what you saw last week, where would you set J.K. Dobbins' rush number?
Yeah, this is a tough one because there is still a shared backfield here between him and between Gus Edwards. So last week he had just 10 carries, but he had 135 yards. Now, one of them was 60 plus, right? He broke a big one, but still the yards per attempt were very solid. He also caught 3 balls. Carolina is dreadful. I think you could see where the Chargers have a lead, and therefore the 57.5 seems very achievable. To me, I would have set this at like 60.5 personally. So I think you have a little bit of a cushion here, and he has the breakaway ability to make this even more. So he's another guy who's an RB2 start this week. I think he brings you some touchdown equity, brings you some big play upside. There's a narrative where you could see where all of a sudden, Dobbins has a good day and Gus Edwards has 2 touchdowns. Like, that's the misery of what this backfield might be. But if you see that 10 touches, attempts, I should say, start to stretch to 15 or even 17, then I think you're seeing the worm turn in that backfield. So this is a really interesting situation to monitor from a fantasy perspective. If you have J.K. Dobbins, he's definitely flex worthy, definitely RB2 worthy this week. And 57.5 is not a big number considering he went over this on 1 touch last week, and the Carolina team is just no good. I mean, with Brian Burns gone from that defense too, like, I don't know what I don't know what the plan is for the Carolina Panthers. I don't understand it. They keep whiffing on high-end picks, and they trade off their best players. I don't get it at all. I can't figure them out.
All right, let's shift our focus here to what's I think is going to become a little trend that we're going to do on the show here. I think at least for the first 8 weeks. Let's all try to commit to doing that. We did it last week. It hit. We're going to do it again this week. It's Daniel Jones to throw a pick. Over, under, 1.5. So I'm there, and that number will move. That number will become 1.5 at some point by week 5. Joe?
Well, look, it's already minus 120 in some spots, so they're telling you that it's going to happen. Well, look, can Daniel Jones pull it out here a little bit and play better in an in-division rivalry game? Sure, of course he can. If he doesn't, you have to ask yourself, will they start to go to Drew Lock? And then what does that look like? Is that better? Is it markedly worse? I don't know. I don't know if the Giants know the answer to this issue, but this is kind of I hate to say it, but it's a big game here in week 2. But from what I've seen, I see a quarterback who's not confident and a quarterback who just seems like he has lost that feel for the game. Now, maybe he gets it back here. Maybe it's week 1 dust. Sure. But maybe it's not. And if it's not, this could be a bad situation for Daniel Jones, and you might see a pivot to another quarterback by the time we get to week 3. We'll see. Again, kind of a fork in the road here for DJ.
All right, let's pick that fork up and ask the question, will Colby Parkinson eat 27.5 receiving yards? Does he have it in him today?
Again, it's a low number. He went over this last week, so I don't see why he can't go over it this week with more preparation and time. And I don't think you want Cooper Kupp having 20 targets. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the best situation either. It's only week 2. Let's try to, maintain Cooper Kupp a little bit, especially since we don't have Puka Nacua. We can't lose both of them. So I do think you'll see a little bit more Colby Parkinson working here. I think that's probably a smart thing.
All right, and then we'll close this segment out talking about Justin Fields. A full week for Fields and his team to prepare. Coach Tomlin, 55.5 rushing yards. Is this what we're going to see out of this quarterback? And then thus, how are we wagering on this team?
Yeah, I think it's an over. Look, the Atlanta Falcons defense is much better than everybody gives them credit for. Last week, you saw Geno Smith rush for 30 yards, and Geno's not exactly the big running quarterback, right? So the Denver Broncos struggle against the run. So I think they're going to struggle with Fields, and I think Fields with a full week of preparation practice, a full game plan built around his strengths, not packages that we had to expand. Look, it was not pretty for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense last week. I think a little bit time, a little bit of focus here is a good thing for Fields, and I think you're going to get a better performance out of him. He is very interesting in the DFS market. In the 55 rushing yards, I think he can go over. More FST when we return. We'll be right back after this. Who to pick up.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking, but he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Everyone had him rookie of the year, offensive player of the year. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. Eberflus coach of the year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be success, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off the platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
147 yards against the Jets and a touchdown? Man, the numbers are incredible.
It's the Shanahan connection, and that's just what it feels like. And, Jordan Mason came into that game with a career 5.6 yards per carry. He's always been a very tough runner. He's always been good when called upon in small doses. You mentioned the yardage, which was impressive, but 28 carries. That's what I'm looking at.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here, and it's time to dive into the waiver wire. Coming up on week 2 in the NFL, sometimes these early season waiver wire moves that might seem innocuous end up winning you your leagues. Now, I'm not promising you that the names we're going to talk about here are going to do that, but you never know. There's a situation going on with the Rams where an opportunity has come about for a guy like Demarcus Robinson, Joe. So let's start there. Only 39% rostered. Let's talk.
Well, this is a guy that I drafted in a lot of spots, and we talked about at the end of draft season, guys you want to just stash on your bench. And the reason why is I saw a world where either Kupp or Puka Nacua would be missing time early on in the month of September. And guess what? We're here in the month of September. It's 2 weeks into the season, and Puka Nacua is on the IR. And somebody was going to get elevated. And that most likely person wasn't Whittingham, although he is really fun, and he might work a little bit today. But Demarcus Robinson, I think, is that guy. He had 7 targets, caught 4 of them for 42 yards. It was a tougher game last week against Detroit. Much better situation against the Arizona Cardinals. So the fact that he's still floating out there and available in about 60% of leagues is crazy. The Cardinals last year allowed the 3rd highest PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers. So he could be in a really good spot today as a streaming wide receiver if you don't like what you have on your roster and you think that maybe you need a little bit more juice there. But in PPR worlds, I could see a 6 for 60 kind of day. That puts you at 12. If he should give you a touchdown, that puts you at 18. That's a really good day. So this guy should not be available in as many leagues as he is. So try to heed these warnings, because remember when we told you last week you could pick up Jordan Mason on free waivers on Sunday? How much did it cost you on Monday to try to go after him? Probably most of your budget, right? So be ahead of the curve. Sunday waiver wire is a great time to pick up players, be proactive. He might be slipping through the cracks of your 10-team leagues. And if so, I think Demarcus Robinson should be rostered there too. You could drop the Jalen Polks of the world and guys like that you were speculating on, or some third RB. Take the guys that are going to play, because for the next 6 weeks, at minimum, Demarcus Robinson is going to be a viable flex / wide receiver 3 kind of guy.
All right, some good advice from Joey P. It's in his blood. Let's go now to an unlikely source. Look at a dynamic player that's available in over half of the leagues. Joe, I'm talking about a player out in Denver? Really? What's up?
Yeah, look, I don't love the Denver offense, but if you look at the numbers for Bo Nix today, the Vegas is telling you it's going to be limited, somewhere around 170 passing yards, right? So that means that they don't think he's going to throw the ball a lot, which means a lot of running the football with Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin. Also, Jaleel McLaughlin is really good at catching the football. So Bo Nix's strength last year at Oregon was dumping the ball off to everybody and letting them run after the catch. I think you're going to see an offense a little bit more skewed that way after a ton of mistakes last week. One of the mistakes was so entertaining that the color commentator literally, when he let go of the ball, said, "Oh no," as he threw an interception into triple coverage. I watched it back 3 times, and it made me laugh every single time when the announcer did that. But Jaleel McLaughlin, again, available in 50% of leagues. You could see a universe where in PPR leagues, he becomes kind of a flex-worthy guy if the offense gets scaled back. And I think it's going to. Devon Vele is out for this game. Cortland Sutton, to me, is an under. He's got a tough matchup against Joey Porter. So the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is really good. You got to run the football here, and you got to take pressure off him because when TJ Watt is running all over chasing you, it's going to be a bad day for Bo Nix.
All right, let's talk about someone that could have a good day. It looks like Jacksonville's offense is poised to be going to stretch the field, and that's going to open up some opportunities for some players in the backfield. How does Tank Bigsby figure into this offense?
This is one where I'm surprised it's so low. It's only 35% rostered right now. Now, Bigsby, I think, is going to work more than people realize, and he looked explosive. He looked really good running the football. You had that big Travis Etienne fumble in a big spot last week that cost him that game against Miami. Those issues persist. You could see this backfield becoming a little bit more of a split. If Etienne has an injury, Bigsby becomes a really coveted back potentially in fantasy. So this is another one, kind of like Mason, where you're looking at the back end of your bench and you've got 7 wide receivers on your team and some of the guys are never going to see the light of day. Drop that last guy, add a Tank Bigsby, and just have him on your roster, because if something happens to Etienne today, Bigsby immediately becomes the number 1 waiver wire pickup, most likely Monday morning. So you got to be ahead of the curve a little bit on waivers. We're going to try to keep you ahead of that curve every single week here. Yep. And we got off to a flying start last week with Mason and a few other guys. These are some other names I think you should be paying attention to, and I think Bigsby's one of them because, again, I thought the roster percentage would go up a little bit based off what we saw week 1. It went up slightly, but not enough. But he showed me enough that he could be really interesting as the season goes on. So let's add him for nothing now. And if, look, a couple weeks from now, buys start to hit you and you need some roster space, okay, you can cut him. But let's speculate now because it might save us a lot of free agent budget by the time we get to a month from now.
Sound advice from Joey P. All right, a bounce back spot for the New York Football Giants this afternoon. I would imagine if they win, Wan'Dale Robinson would be a big part of it.
Yeah, somebody else has to step up here, and it seems like Wan'Dale Robinson will be that other guy. He is only 29% rostered, and Malik Neighbors is already having some health issues in week 2. Now, Neighbors is going to play, but Wan'Dale Robinson, you would imagine, is that number 2 target in that offense. It was a miserable day, potentially, for the last week for the New York Football Giants. Now, can they dust themselves off and show up today against the Commanders? Sure, they can. And if they don't, the rumblings will start and they will begin, and Daboll will be questioned, the quarterback will be questioned, the front office will be questioned. But in the meantime, Wan'Dale Robinson, again, 30% rostered. If you're in deeper leagues, that's kind of crazy. He should be rostered already. And he's another guy that kind of like DeMarcus Robinson, wide receiver 3/flex appeal in full PPR. Can he give you 5 for 55? Sure. Can he get you double digits? Yeah. The problem is, again, Daniel Jones kind of caps and limits that upside for now. For now, let's give him a second week and see how he does.
All right, let's close out the penultimate segment. Give a defense available in 60% of leagues. Who's it going to be?
Well, look, it's got to be whoever's playing the Carolina Panthers, right? Isn't this how we're going to stream going forward? The Chargers. Look, I'm just trying to keep this simple here. The Chargers are the 4th ranked defense this week against Carolina on Fantasy Pros. 4th. They're only 39% rostered. So you do the math there, kids. Like, they think that there's going to be a big day potentially here. Some sacks, some turnovers, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, all those guys looking good. And look, they were the 4th ranked defense last week against Vegas. Also, not a prolific offense necessarily. They had an interception, 2 fumble recoveries, 4 sacks in that game. Chargers defense and DFS and the stream this week is the one you want. More FST when we return right after this.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking, but he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk about your freshman year at Alabama and even the redshirt year that got you ready to perform at the highest level.
You had to learn a lot about humility, about being patient to play at Alabama, and you still knew that you're going to have a shot to win a championship every year. And so that's the line. And so I think that's what's really missing with today's football. You got NIL, you got social media.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Everyone had him rookie of the year, offensive player of the year. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. Eberflus coach of the year. He was terrible.
If he's going to be a success, he's got to play within structure as much as possible. I get it. If the pocket breaks down, throw off platform. That's fine. But within structure, when the play is there to be made, you need to make it, and he didn't do that.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
147 yards against the Jets and a touchdown? Man, the numbers are incredible.
It's the Shanahan connection, and that's just what it feels like. And, Jordan Mason came into that game with a career 5.6 yards per carry. He's always been a very tough runner. He's always been good when called upon in small doses. You mentioned the yardage, which was impressive, but 28 carries. That's what I'm looking at.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, FST Fantasy Sports. Today, we're getting ready to put it in the books. A quick tip of the cap to all the truckers out there. It's not lost on us what you do to keep this country going. Thank you so much. And to everyone out there, we wish you a splendid week 2. We hope you win out completely, all of your picks, all your props, and get the win in season long. Joe, 3 and out time. 3 things that we're looking forward to here. Take it away, my man.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward for the Jets bounce back. I think we're going to get it. I really do. And if we don't, I'm here for it. I'm here for it either way. But no, I think we do. I think Will Levis makes some mistakes. Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, continue their connectivity there. Breece Hall has a big day, and the Jets defense does what the Jets defense is supposed to do. Now, it is tough because it's a short week, 2 road games, right? You got to go to San Francisco, fly back to New York, fly to Nashville. It's not that far, but still, it'll be interesting to watch there. I know there's a lot of Jet fans watching this game with bated breath here, too. Number 2, does Cincinnati show up? It was not good week 1. Cincinnati Bengals, no bueno. Lose at home to the Patriots? Come on. Stop looking ahead. Focus on what's in front of you. You need Jamar Chase to have a big game. Joe Burrow to have a big game. You're not going to have T. Higgins in this one, too. So they better figure things out because they did not look sharp. They looked flat. If anybody can turn things around quickly, it's Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm confident that we will get a game that lives up to the hype. I'm not confident we get a Bengals victory, though. I'm on the Chiefs side of this game. The 6.5 does feel like a lot, though. So to me, I think I'm going to lean a little bit towards the Cincinnati cover side of this game, believe it or not. So a lot of people are kind of counting out the Bengals, which is not what you want to do this early. Now, if they get stomped in this game, that's going to change the dynamic again in a big way. We already saw the Mahomes MVP narrative move considerably in 2 weeks. We could see the Chiefs to win the AFC move considerably if they stomp a mud hole in the Cincinnati Bengals this week. So keeping a close eye on that one. Also, Jordan Mason, take two. Here we go. Jordan Mason, can he live up to that first game against the New York Jets that he put on and that incredible performance? Hopefully, for all of us that have him in fantasy, and a lot of us, and by us I mean me, have a lot of shares there for Jordan Mason. So I'm cautiously optimistic that he gets a full workload and looks pretty good doing it. Should be a fun contest there. We mentioned Hufanga is out for that game too, so Justin Jefferson props go up. Also, just to get you updated real quick, Keenan Allen is questionable / game time decision now for Sunday Night Football, so I would not be waiting for that game time to decide.
No.
I'd be looking elsewhere, bench him, find another guy, Demarcus Robinson off the waiver wire. Jordan Love has not been medically cleared to play. He will not play. And A.J. Brown was limited on Friday, but it looks like he is going to play. So a couple pieces there. Also, the center for the Houston Texans, Scruggs, is dealing with an injury. He is a game-time decision. Sometimes that gets a little wacky there when you have replacement centers. So that's another one of those non-skill position injuries to keep an eye on because it could have an impact on the offense. But Matt Striker, what are you paying attention to the most in week 2? What game has your eyes and ears?
Well, here's the thing is I'm in several leagues, and you were talking about the Cincinnati show up. In one league, I actually have Burrow sitting, and I have Stafford in that position. It's just one of those leagues where I can take those kind of risks. But I think a lot of fantasy managers, if you have to ask yourself, am I starting Joe Burrow? There's a big conversation to be had. But Joe's right. A lot of the smoke is going to clear, and we're going to be able to understand. But that's the game I'm looking forward to. And I think I'm also looking forward to see what the Patriots can be. Because if I can see something and you can see something before everyone else, I think we can get into a little wagering help here. And for the next couple of weeks, we can start to make some money on that team. So that's what I'm looking forward to, Joe.
Yeah, a lot of these rookie quarterbacks got to play a little bit better. Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, these guys got to step it up a notch here. Some of these quarterbacks fighting for their jobs too. Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, they could be replaced as quickly as next week. I don't think there's going to be a long leash for either of those guys potentially, as these teams have designs on improving year over year. And so far, week 1 did not give you a lot of confidence. But a lot of good football today. To me, it's the Tampa-Detroit game. That one's got my eyes. I think that could be a really fun game. Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can go make a statement. If they get this road win, and Baker played great last week, I know it was just against the Commanders.
How do they win in that building? In that
honestly,
atmosphere? How?
I think the way you win in that building is keep it close and try to have that one bounce go your way. Like, just hang with them and hope that you get some mistake there from the Lions. And if you get it, you're right in there. But if they win, you're going to see them jump to being the favorites in the NFC South. I'm telling you right now. Or even if they play very well, you could see that change because New Orleans, as good as they looked last week, they get Dallas this week. So that's a division to really pay attention to early on. I think the Falcons will get better over time too. A little bit more time to gel together. But we had a lot of time to gel. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Matt Striker, I'm Joey P. Stay tuned for Pro Football Today. Coming up right now.
To a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none